raised the question of the terrible crimes against journalists in Gaza. It's a great pleasure then to welcome our next speaker, who's one of today's great journalists. Please welcome Gary Younge.
Thank you. Free, free! Free, free! Thank you. When I was 16, 17, I used to come just over there, outside South Africa House with my mum. And we used to picket against the apartheid regime. There was a non-stop picket there. And people would come past. Some of them would support us. Some of them would spit at us. Some of them would say that we were supporting terrorism. It was at a time when those jokers down there in Parliament, that party, argued that Nelson Mandela should stay in prison. And it was at the time when Israel was arming the apartheid regime. And so it was with great delight that I looked at the court and saw South Africa prosecuting Israel for genocide, knowing that they had fulfilled Mandela's words that none of us are completely free until Palestine is free. And their ability to construct that case was because of journalists who had collected the information that they could use for the prosecution, which is why they kill them. They kill them because they tell stories, along with the poets and the artists and the universities. They've flattened all the universities. They tell the stories of how Jews and Arabs lived in that area together as peacefully as anywhere else at one stage. They tell the stories of how Palestinians aren't just victims of Israeli aggression, but mothers and sisters and brothers and fathers and uncles and lovers and scoundrels and everything that anybody else might be. And when they kill those journalists, they think they kill those stories, but in the words of Pablo Neruda, you can cut down the flowers, but you cannot stop the spring. And we are the spring. They can kill the journalists, but they cannot kill the stories. And this is part of that story of international cooperation, of international solidarity, of the real international community, of ordinary working people standing up for what is right, because our political class doesn't have the guts or doesn't have the morality to do that. And so here we are. When I stood across from there, people said it would never happen. It will never happen. But the one thing that I've learned in my years as an activist and as a journalist is that you have to look beyond what you can see now. Imagine if Martin Luther King got to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and said, I have a 10-point plan. He didn't. He said, I have a dream. And he looked beyond what he could see now to what was necessary and what was vital. And this is what is vital. That Palestine is free. Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine!
Right now I'm up here as an MC introducing some people, right? Our next speaker has someone who's been a...
And this week we saw that Wael Dudu's son Hamza was killed. Wael is the head of the Al Jazeera service in Gaza. He's lost his wife, his grandson, and now his son, killed by Israeli bombs and drones. I want us to send our condolences to him and what remains of his family and his colleagues who've seen, even today now, have come under attack again. You know, under international law, journalists have special protection. so that they can fulfill their professional responsibilities and report the truth. And because they're reporting the truth in Gaza, the killings, the maimings, the deaths of children in particular, I believe Israel has targeted them. And Israel is killing them systematically and has done for the last 99 days. So we believe as a union that linking up with journalists across the world, Israel should be brought to the International Criminal Court specifically about the attacks and murder of journalists. It is a war crime. And some of you may have seen the Israeli spokesperson on Newsnight this week when they were questioned about Hamza's killing in particular. The allegation was that these journalists are Hamas operatives and they produced phony evidence to try and prove it. Well, I tell you, I was there 2 years ago at the memorial to Shireen Abu Akleh. Well, Shireen was a journalist in the same form, and she was shot dead by the Israelis, and they denied that they had. There was a UN investigation that confirmed that she was killed by an Israeli bullet, and eventually they had to admit it, they did it. And that's what's happening now. They're killing journalists. They're systematically targeting them. They're trying to prevent the truth from being reported, and then they deny it. This is a war crime that cannot be forgiven. And for that reason, yes, we campaign for the truth, but we campaign also for justice. And you know, it is true. It is true. There'll be no justice until there's a ceasefire and there's peace. So let me add our names to the demand for a ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.